Okay, today I'm going to do a breakdown of my last cinematic called Freedom Gate, which was done entirely inside iClone 8. How I actually do cinematics only inside iClone 8 and render it out and edit it on an editing program. So it's just a breakdown. And I'm going to give you some tips. It might help you up in the future regarding cinematics and angles and positions if you're struggling a lot. So yeah, so I have three cameras actually. I started from top like this one. Second is the front, the last scene, and third is the side when you started seeing the character actually started and talking. So I am sure most of you are familiar with the switch option inside iClone that actually switches camera to camera. Let me open up, show you more, might help you up. Excuse my slow visuals. It's super heavy on VRAM. As you can see, it's almost 6 gigabytes of VRAM has been taken. So it will be pretty slow. So I started with the top camera and as in like to make a climax of the entirety. Then I switch on the, this is usually called hero camera or hero close-up with high quality character with high poly. It is a high poly character, and the backgrounds are just quite a bit low poly. So after that, when she explains what's going on, when it's outro, I cut the camera, front camera, and just zoom a bit while she's getting back to make a bit of a climax, and then it's over. So if you want to see the setup of my cameras, what I did, let me show you. On top, nothing fancy, as you can see, standard setups. I just did depth of field timing over here. As you can see, it started a depth of field over here, highlighting this one, then switching it to this character. I pointed that out, the character. Then it changes to the second camera, the side camera, I mean. The side camera highlights the main protagonist or the hero character. Rest is shallow depth of field. As you can see, I've used quite a shallow depth of field over here. Just tracks the character. And last but not least, when it goes to this, I also did the same thing, focusing this one, background and foreground. There you go, as you can see. So yeah, let's talk about these two characters. As you can see, it's same. It's not a different color or different perspective of the model, same. But you can see, let me show you in this mode. They have a different variations of animation. What I did, I went to Sketchfab. I found this free Armored Guard Knight rigged, which is rigged on Blender file. I just imported on, I just opened Blender file and just exported as an FBX with embedded texture. The animation is like this, just an idle animation standing. So what I did, I just overlapped these two characters animation. As you can see, it started a bit late. You might be wondering, come on man, it's standing like a robot not moving. But remember, our animation started from top, so there is no way, as you can see, there is no hell in a way you can see those characters. So I can do that, right? Yeah, right. Okay, so let me just show you both of the animation palette here. Yeah, there you go. The first one started, the second one started a bit late, so there is a different rhythm of an animation between them. So that's quite making a difference, like an organic animation, like it's not syncing exactly as it is, just giving an ups and downs. So it's making a variation of an animation. Okay, so let's talk about environment. On the environment, I did quite a lot of work. Let me show you. There's a lot going on over here. I don't need to open directional light. Directional light is directional light, light, as you know, just coming from that part of directional light. On point light, way above here, which is actually triggering thunder and lightning. As you can see, nothing fancy, just sparks of light. I did this entirely manually. Let me show you. So yeah, it goes and on and on and on. Let me show you the modifications. What I did over here, I enabled the volumetric light. It actually helped to spread the light. The entire scene, it spread a soft light, as you can see a soft light. Without that, it might look a bit bland, I may say. So yeah, that's that. Okay, so the second is spotlight. The spotlight is actually behind this door. Yeah, so you might be wondering, why do you need a spotlight behind this? It could be something else. Yeah, absolutely, it's artist perspective. You might add a light or you don't, it's totally up to you. But for me, I need to show something is happening. There's something going on behind that light. There's a lively things going on behind that light. There's a city behind this door. So you need to show that with the light. I could have added some shadows behind it, but my project is already was going pretty heavy, and I am lacking RAM, not the video RAM, just normal RAM. One of my RAM just got busted, so I'm using only 16 gigs of RAM. So yeah, you can do a lot of things to make things interesting, like people are walking by, there are different silhouettes over there. So yeah, so my spotlight is pretty much blown out, like I did a volumetric light and all these things. Let me show you a small differences with and without the light. So without the light, let me show you the entire cinematic, just without any sound. As you can see, there's nothing behind it, just a depth of field, the usual typical light thing, and thunders over there. Nothing is going on. Yeah, it's pretty, to me it's pretty dull. But when you start using a spotlight, as you can see, there is a light over here. It's giving you something mysterious, something over here. There are people, there is a stable, there are merchants, and there are armor smith. As I've used those sounds on the final video that you can hear, and armor, a blacksmith is just hitting on the anvil, street dogs, and there are horses in the stable. They're just scared after the thunder sound happening and all these things, the typical things. So as you can see, it's giving you something mysterious over here, as well as over here, this light, a little bit of light over here, it's bouncing off, not over here, so it will be blown out. That might look very weird. I started that, but then I reduced it, and then you can finally see it's coming over here. It's telling you a story, something differently. So that's that. The point lights, this point light, yeah, I added this point light. This was not unplanned. I added this point light because I was missing a hell lot of lights over here. It's pretty dark. When you can see on the front line, let me go, not front, side. So she came, she started talking and having a conversation, and if I show you without it, it's pretty dark, and it's pretty weird, like typical the thunder is coming out of nowhere, then getting off. I need to show something, that something is happening here. Something is happening here. So that's why I use this point light over here to illuminate something, that something is going on. It's giving a backup to the thunder and lightning. So yeah. All right. The next is directional light. It's pretty much straightforward. I use 87% of darkness over here, because if I don't use 97% of darkness, it's kind of let me show you from the top end. See, it's not bringing that environment or that atmosphere that I need. It's something mysterious, a mist. The king has been, almost assassinated, so you need something. So yeah, that's that. And typical blue light and volumetric overall, even though you can't see the volumetric, but it's in the environment, it's bringing something totally different and giving you a vibe. So after that, these two point lights, this light, and there's just a simple copy of this thing. What it is doing, that I mean, it's obvious. Without this two, it will look pretty bland and it's pretty weird. So if you want to copy paste these things, you can check this out over here. See, darkness 40% and all those things, and a little bit of volumetric light. Here's the fun part. If you don't use volumetric light over here, you won't see anything. Nothing is going on. But trust me, something is going on, and it's helping to bounce out the light in this entirety of this cinematic. Trust me, I've been there. I've been just doodling this volumetric thing like an hour. Then I found out that I need a volumetric light over here to cover this thing up. GI anchor, I don't know most of you know about this or not, but you can actually voxelize this GI. You can as you can see, something is happening. The more you give it, the more GI will spread. I just keep this standard 200. Okay, next is visuals. I already have a lot going on Blockbuster. Without this, it looks like this. With this, it's giving a small type of things, like 50% I've used it. If I went beyond, it just blowing out, because I will be doing a bit more post processing inside Premiere Pro later on. So that's that. And global illumination, like as always. In general, you will see this thing is disabled. Try to enable and just doodle on it. I mean, you can see it right now. Without that, see, it's a bit darker over here in the in this armor. I just enable it. It's bouncing off. It's bouncing off a different way of light, different light. You can see it over here more precisely. See, it's bouncing out. The light is bouncing out over here. It's very important during this kind of atmospheric dark cinematic. Okay, so next is typical these things. I used shadow range over here, and this and that. Okay, ambient occlusion. So usually what we do is sometimes when you use a template or a light, you don't pay attention on ambient occlusion at all, because ambient occlusion is very important. It brings a lot of things that you can't imagine. It brings a lot of realism. Like as you can see right now, it's enabled. If I disable, yeah, it's just bland. It's just meh, bland. With it, you can see there is the depth. And how would you do that? To my way of processing ambient occlusion while I'm working on a cinematic or a scene, or blocking out things when starting with the light thing, I go to view ambient occlusion, then I do this and that, and my choice of things. You might be wondering, what is enable tint? Without tint, you just get a typical ambient occlusion, but with tint, you can actually get this bleed of lights, this bleed inside your skin and other places as well. Without that, it's just a typical AO. It helps a lot. It brings a lot of realism. It's a lot of bounces. It has, I think, if I'm not wrong, some sort of related with the trace thing, tracing thing. It has to do with that. I don't know what Fox did over here. Just enable it. Don't mind it. I also use an HDR effect. Without this, it makes a huge difference. You need those blooms. Absolutely, you need those blooms. There are blooms over here that the light is bouncing off. It's making a different kind of vibes over here. So yeah, you can work on it. You can just Google it. And I used a horizontal flare to my own personal taste. It started with this disable thing, or or something less, but I use horizontal layer. I just need that. It helped for me. uh, I don't know about tone map. I don't use tone map. Maybe a lot of you do, but I don't use tone map because I want to control my cinematics inside a Premiere when I post processing. So I don't need these things. So I used an image IBL Polyhaven. It's a very, very, very good website where you can go and use HDRs, tons of HDRs, day, night, snowy, different kind of things, all free from 1K to 8K, even 16K. So let me show you. Without this, it's pretty bland. With this, pretty interesting. If I disable this, you see it is missing something. Most of us don't use this, I guess. I'm just guessing. I'm not calling out anyone. I'm just stating the fact. After enabling this, it's giving me something in the skin. It's giving me something, some sort of bouncing light. It has to do with the AO and tracing. It all comes back over there. So for me, 30 was enough. I mean, you can go beyond that and this, but I don't need that. I just need this environment. As you can see, the fun fact is, if you go to this, there is this. I'm trying to, replicate this IBL with my scene. There has to be a source of moon. Instead of that, I'm using this moon source as my thunder, and it's cloudy, and it has a warm color, which is helping me up a lot in this cinematic. Because if I don't use this, you can see it's kind of bland. Like disabling this, you don't see anything over here. It's just this light, nothing more. But when I'm enabling this, it's bringing me this warm color in this texture as well. The texture is warm, so it's helping a lot to reflect from this to that. So yeah, I could have source initial HDR IBL Baker. I could have baked and used this, but I'm not that advanced in term of iClone, so I just passed it off. So yeah, I used a 4K over here, not this one. In general, the 4K animation, I use the typical animation that iClone has to offer. Like, as you can see, a typical walk, and then this I had to just blend all these things. I wish I could show you what were the emotions, but I don't have that, unfortunately. Do I? No, I don't have that. Sadly, I don't have. So like always, I used Replica Studio for the voice thing. There you go. I used the character Olivia from Replica to get the dialogues, and yeah, that's all for this animation. I have already shown these two characters animation, how did they overlapped and all these things. So what else? I rendered out on MP4 Ultra HD. This everything is cranking up. High quality depth of field, cranked up the high thing. I didn't judge this over here. Color banding with noise, I don't know what does it do, but I just did it. And then 60 fps cinematic. I have nothing to discard the simulation because you're not seeing the simulation of the hair, though there are some simulations going on in her hair at this level of lag. I don't even see it. Motion blur, absolutely. Just use 50%. I don't use more. I just use the default. It helps a lot. Motion blur helps a lot. I'm really thankful to Revolution that they finally added motion blur on this version. It has been missing. People were trying to replicate fake motion blur inside post processing, and it was not as good as you can get over here. It's all natural. So this character is actually from Daz Studio. I remember I have just released a Daz Studio video that how you can import your Daz Studio, and then you do that. So as you can see, there is a lot of details going on in this character. Gatehouse is from Daz Studio actually. I worked on this. I don't know if you need or not. Just let me know if you want to, if you want me to cover up on how do you import a Dash Studio model inside iClone with proper bump maps and metallic and all these things, because it's a lot of work. It's a heck of a work. I did that back in the last Paladin cinematic that I released a month ago. So I think I covered up most of the things that you needed to know in this cinematic breakdown. I would really like to know if you have any question regarding if I missed anything. I will try my best to answer your questions on comment. And what else do you need? As I have put up voting poll few days ago that which one you want. Most people were interested more into iClone cinematic, so I'll be covering that up next. Also, if you have anything other or you want me to cover up, do let me know. I will try my best in due time. As I've told you that I'm pretty busy with my real life work, I highly get time to sit and make tutorials. So do let me know what else you want me to cover up. So that's all now. See ya.